Hello, you all, and happy Father's Day. I decided that I was going to make a video describing my thoughts about federal signal. However, what I'd like to say is that the kind of thoughts I'm going to point out, um, this is not necessarily to be disrespectful to federal signal, but this is mainly more like going to focus on the cons on some of the stuff I've kind of or info that I've basically sort of noticed when I explored more about federal signal and their sirens. So what I got with me is my laptop, and I'm going to show you some certain things that I'd like to share, and I kind of want to hear your guys' side of the story on what you think and such like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example. A couple of years ago, I tried to explain to Federal Signal about the difference of the Federal Signal 2001s, mainly the SRNs. So, what I did back in June of 2018, I emailed Federal Signal, and just to make it so that I don't have to, just to make it for their own privacy, I decided that I won't give out any names of who I emailed to. So I'll just say Federal Signal themselves, or stuff like that. So anyways, I emailed Federal Signal, and basically this is someone who's a veteran who worked there for a long period of time, so he should obviously know this. But so anyways, I emailed them and I said, in these photos right here, would you happen to know which years these types of 2001s were manufactured? And what I was meaning by that was, give me one sec. Basically, I was meaning like these 2001s right here, okay? Now, if you take a look, there's a difference between the two. The one that says 2001 DC, you can also clearly see that, how the motor cover looks slightly different than the, let's just say, the one that we used to usually call SRN, or most siren enthusiasts would call that. You also notice that on the rotator box, on this one here, it doesn't say 2001 SRN. It's just, it just has the warning hearing protection thing. That's the only thing on the rotator box on this 2001, whereas on this one it has Federal 2001 DC on it, which is actually just the name of the controller. But basically, I asked him, when I asked him what years, like in the 1990s, for example, that they were manufactured, the response I got, he said, look at the labels for the 2001 SRN, SRNB, and 130. The 2001 DC label actually signifies it is a 2001 SRN head. Technically, 2001 DC is a controller cabinet, not the siren head, but we labeled it as a system, hence the 2001 DC label. And he showed me some kind of almost like a PDF shots of the SRN, the SRNB, and the 130. And it says 2001 SRN belt drive, 128 decibels at 100 feet, 1990 to 2002. No. 2001 SRNB direct drive, 128 decibels at 100 feet, 2002 to 2007. And 2001 130 direct drive, plus the back housing is increased in size to allow better airflow, 130 decibels at 100 feet, 2007 to present. Okay, fine, that's good. But technically he did not answer the kind of question I was looking for. Now, when he said for the SRN, when he said 1990 to 2002, it's like, wait a minute, that's not what I asked you. I did not specifically ask him that. Okay, and the other thing is, let me just continue looking here. Give me one sec here. Okay, so I also, when I responded back to him, saying, how about the years these two were manufactured? And what I mean by these two is I'm referring to, give me one sec. When I responded back saying, how about the year of these two? These two are also SRNs, but of course both of them will say 2001 DC, like one's the round back and one's the square back that has the original motor cover designs. When I emailed him on that, he said that the 2001 belt drive, he basically almost said the same thing. He basically said 2001 SRN belt drive, 1990 to 2002, 1990 to 1991, the back box had the rounded top and later was square. Let me know if I could be further assistance. Technical support team. I'm like, that, okay, well, how did it... Here's my question. Because he said that, because he said 1990 to 1991, many other Siren enthusiasts were saying that actually the 2001 roundback actually started in 1988. Now, I kept wondering why. How do they know that? But you know what I didn't realize, and thanks to a helpful Siren friend of mine who might also want to keep his name confidential, he also showed me proof. And just give me one sec. It said that. Okay, so I'm gonna show it to you on here. Just give me a sec here. He told me that an old. Wait a minute, that's not it. So, anyways, one of my Siren friends was telling me that Earl Goswaller, who used to work for Federal Signal before his death, may have mentioned that actually 2001s, despite what Federal Signal tells me, they did date back, and actually I can show you right here. This, I don't know if you can see it or not, but this is what I was looking for. This is actually what I was looking for. Okay, because it dates back like 1988, and if you take a look, it's kind of this is sort of like their original design, and basically it was kind of almost like succeeding to be the design of like the RSH-10, as you can clearly see. But starting in 1988, it's obvious that it's quite obvious that in 1988, that's actually when the original 2001 SRN began. And, of course, it had the roundback design. And then I also received another... just bear with me again. I did once make a video 2 years ago asking about the 2001 Sirens, and I seem to have gotten information that seems to make better sense. And this is also from another Siren enthusiast, and the timeline he gave me says that 2001 SRN DC roundback 1988, 2001 SRN DC squareback small cone 1990. 2001 SRN, big cone, 1994. Now, I recently just saw a video that the one that has the smaller cone, one siren enthusiast said that the siren was actually installed in the year 1997, but, you know, there's another one that said 1994 with the big cone, so I'm not sure how that worked, but SRN, 2001 SRN, 1998, 2001 SRNB, 2002, SRNB big logo, 2005, and 2001 130s, 2007, and the Equinox is 2011 to 2012 and was the 505 prototype, but there's something I don't understand. They said that Federal Signal, one person at Federal Signal says that the Equinox was the prototype of the 508, but another one said that the Equinox is still in production. So, what I like to say about Federal Signal is that apparently they just get mixed up information. They never seem to give you the kind of answers you're looking for. And Federal Signal, apparently, they didn't listen very carefully when I asked them. And I also want to give you another example. So, just give me one sec. Okay, so, as of April of this year, about 2 months ago, I asked, "Hello, Federal Signal. The original 2001 SRNs that have the name printed on the rotator box saying Federal Signal, saying Federal 2001 DC, why was the DC part placed on there instead of SRN? I noticed that on the later SRN models before the SRB came out, doesn't have the DC printed on the rotator box anymore. I know the DC part is supposed to be meaning the name of the controller, but I never understood why not have Federal Signal but I never understood why not have Federal Signal 2001 SRN labeled on the rotator box instead of the controller name. Thank you for your time and stay safe out there. Dan." My response I got from Federal Signal says, "You are correct on all points. The really ancient 2001 SRN was labeled after the controller cabinet 2001 for a short period of time. Then labeling was changed to SRN for many years. The 2001 SRNB changed from belt drive to direct drive rotation, 2001 130, whatever. I already knew that, okay? I already knew that. And that's not exactly what I asked him. What I asked him was, why didn't Federal Signal put down Federal Signal 2001 SRN on the rotator box? That's what I was asking them. And the answer they were telling me was not what I was looking for. So, what is up with you Federal Signal people? You know, this is what I don't like. When you ask them a question like that, they always give you the kind of answers you're not looking for. It's like as if they're not even listening to the question you're providing them. And the kind of question I'm asking them is very specific. It's not very difficult to understand, okay? I try to make it easy on them, and they just, you know... Sure, maybe they could say that they're just so busy with customers and, you know, they ain't got time to answer to siren enthusiasts and such like that. Well, despite that, though, it's like, dude, just at least briefly mention the part I was wondering, okay? Because the point is, you know, the older 2001 SRNs, they just say 2001 DC on the rotator box, but they just didn't... Like the SR and Bs and the 130s, they at least put that part on the rotator box, but they didn't bother to do it with the SRNs. So I asked them why, and they said, they basically said the 2001 DC was just labeled after the controller. So, but why put that on there instead of the SRN? And they didn't tell me. That's not, that's not what I was looking for. So, Federal Signal kind of just, they always get... It seems like they're so complicated on trying to study enough of their information, because it doesn't seem like the kind of information they gives you is right. And it's like, are they even listening to the questions that I'm even asking them? It's just so frustrating. That's why Federal Signal kind of gets me. And the other thing I also want to mention about 2001 Siren, since I'm kind of on the topic of that, is that the thing I want to mention is that they also said that in 2007, when they made the 130 model, they made it so that the back of the siren was increased air input to allow 2 decibel levels to be increased to make it 138 decibels at 100 feet, whereas the SRNs and the SRNBs are 128. But let me tell you this. Do you actually really think the 130 is actually 130 decibels at 100 feet? Because I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Federal Signal claims that, and they will deny. I haven't bothered to try to challenge them on that. But what I will say is Federal Signal will definitely, they will deny saying that we're wrong and they were right about their 2001s being 130 decibels. But how do we know that? How do we know that? Did Federal Signal actually take proper measurements, or did they just say that just to make it so that customers will buy 2001s, but in reality, there's really no difference. In fact, the 130, it's just useless. It's not really what, if they would consider improvement, it's not really any different than an SRNB or a one. Well, the difference between an SRNB and an SRN is that changing from belt drive to gear driven is a better improvement, but if you're going to actually make it so that you have enhanced air suction, or to make it so that the decibel level rating is louder, do it properly. And I don't think, in my point of view, they actually did do it properly. Now, I never heard a 508 before in person, so I can't really tell how much louder it would actually be, hence the fact it's named, or it says 128 decibels at 100 feet, whereas the 130 says that the it says that the 130 is 130 decibels at 100 feet. But anyways, a good siren enthusiast of mine said that the decibel meter rating really isn't really indicative of how loud a siren really is. There are many ways to fudge around with the meter to push the ratings. So that's another answer. Think about that. When you can fudge around a meter, a decibel meter, how do you know if it's really that? So the point is, Federal Signal, they seem like they never give out the kind of information, especially like when us siren enthusiasts, if any of you guys have ever emailed them or asked them stuff like that, do any of them ever, have you guys ever even encountered situations like that where you've asked them questions, or you've always wondered like that, but the kind of answer they gave you was not exactly what you were looking for, or the answer they gave you was kind of like, blank, or not like, what you thought it was going to be? Because it seems to me like they don't seem to know very well themselves. But in my point of view, despite the fact that the 2001 130 is 130 decibels, once again, I don't believe that's true. Do you guys think that's true? Because I don't. I really don't. But what else do I want to say? I didn't really... The only thing I really did talk about Federal Signal is mainly just the 2001s. So I didn't really get into much other details about my other thoughts about like their sirens. But what I like to say on a positive note is that Federal Signal... Now, as me being a siren enthusiast, as for many of you, Federal Signal makes sirens that most of us seem to love. And lots of them, of course, many of us think as the Thunderbolt. Many of us love the old Thunderbolt. But of course, the Thunderbolt, compared to what the sirens they make today, the Thunderbolt definitely would just be too much of a pain in the rump. And because they're such maintenance hogs, in this day of age, it just would not be worth manufacturing. Despite the fact that, in my point of view, that I think Thunderbolts are better than 2001s. Despite that, the 2001s is more reliable. Despite its flaws, or basically not, basically, what I like to say is that what I was saying about the 508 is that the 508, I never heard it before in person, but I can bet you that the 508, with it being a lower pitched siren, and the fact that it has a bigger siren horn, that I have seen in person at West Shore Services. The 508 has a bigger horn design than the 2001. I was kind of shocked of how small the 2001 is. Even my own Wheeling is bigger. But despite the fact that my Wheeling's bigger, I still believe the 2001's definitely louder. No doubt about that. But could the 2001s actually be louder than the Wheeling Vortexes? Do you think so? Because that, I don't really know. The Wheeling Vortex, with it being lower pitched, it would carry further capability, but the thing is that they're electronic, whereas the 2001 is mechanical. So mechanical is bound to have a stronger kind of sound to it than an electronic siren. But compared to a 508, even though I never heard a 508 in person, but I have heard a Tempest 128 twice. And the last time I heard a T128, it felt like it really packed a pretty good punch. Just like a Thunderbolt. Even a Thunderbolt packs a punch. Man, they're strong, very strong. But a 2001 seems kind of weak, It's like, so much for a siren improvement. It seems so disappointing for like sound-wise. But for quality-wise, the 2001 is definitely better to be manufactured or easier to manufacture. And the fact that it has battery backup, it's still a better, more reliable siren than the Thunderbolt, but the Thunderbolt will always have a better sound. And here's another thing. Don't you think the 500 siren, the old ones that used to rotate off by the motor, the speed of the motor, don't you think the 500s are louder than the 2001s? Even though the decibel level ratings may say differently, I actually think the 500 sirens, I think they actually are louder than the 2001s. Maybe even the STH-10. Maybe that's louder because it uses a larger rotor. The 2001s, with having such a small chopper, it's like, sure, it's a good design, but it's not really any louder. So Federal Signal, they'll say differently, but you know what? They only say that because, and I hate to say that, but it's all about the money in marketing. They want to be the best of the competitors as well as American Signal, but in the end, you can't necessarily hide the truth that, what, despite what they claim, that's not the case. So that's what I want to share to you about Federal Signal, but above all that, I actually love Federal Signal sirens, and I won't be, I'll never dislike them as far as I know, unless if they become too much hypocrites in the future, like let's say in 20 years from now. But who knows? We'll see. Who knows how much longer they'll be making sirens. I mean, they've been making sirens for a long period of time, but just in general, I just wish they could have provided better answers. Even when I asked Wheeling about their sirens, it seems to me like Wheeling seems to be more honest with me than Federal Signal. So Federal Signal just seems more complicated, while Wheeling, on the other hand, seems like they provided better information, or at least the kind of responses I got from Wheeling were pretty much what I was looking for, or at least, you know, it met enough to my satisfaction, whereas Federal Signal, it still lacks. So, you know, it's just kind of... It just kind of makes me feel slightly disappointed in that, and I'm sure many of you people would think the same way too. But above all that, I think Federal Signal in general it's a good company. It just, you know, technically there's some little bit of trust issues, but if you were really a veteran about sirens, you could either take the 508 or the Eclipse 8 or whichever seems to work best. Or if you really want to do more powerfulness, you could do the American Signal T135, but that's a different kind of siren than a 2001 or a 508. But anyways, what I want to... Let me see if there's anything else I want to point out. I'm just looking at the brochures or the siren pictures in my room if there's something else I want to point out, but... yeah, I don't think... I can't really think of what else I want to point out, but what I do like to say is that despite all my negative thoughts about what I've been describing about Federal Signal, they're not really... I can't say they're a lousy company. There's just some information that just doesn't seem to make sense, or they're not like... They don't seem to give you the kind of answers you're looking for. That's what I'm basically wanted to describe for today, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So, above all that, I'd like to say I'll be trying to make more videos in the future, and hopefully, I don't know when, but right now it's freaking hot as heck outside. It's been pretty nasty this year. This has just been such a crummy year with the virus going on, and you know, I work out in a lumber yard. It's so hot outside. It's so dreadful. It's just kind of depressing. But despite that, I'm hoping that I'll try to make a video sometime soon about how I activate my Wheeling siren. I just haven't bothered to do that recently because it's just been so hot out and the weather. I'm just waiting for the right time. And of course, you could also say that I'm kind of being a little lazy. But above all that, we'll see what happens. But I just want to thank you all for watching and have a wonderful day.